Hi people, welcome to Bluukjazzdance Rebirth for the Cool project. And the project is about my legacy. I'm the first individual to redress social injustices. Manchester people are promoted as dumb in London. They're promoted as dumb in the South. And people need to understand we're promoted as dumb as backward people, locally, nationally, regionally, and internationally. Manchester people within their own city are promoted by people living in our city as Mancunians now. They're promoted as dumb also. I identify this as an individual who went to Oxford Brookes University 05 to 10. One of the biggest discrimination I faced was I came from Manchester, and Manchester people are dumb. I was really shocked to really hear that. There was very few Mancunians in Oxford Brookes University. Let's get this clear. It was very much a southern university. You had international students, very few blacks in that university. It was unacceptable for me to accept the discriminations I was facing in a time of cultural diversity. And you're talking about open discriminations. People make jokes about us all the time. And it's serious, deep-seated jokes. People need to understand this is not light-hearted jokes. So as an individual, I faced a lot of discrimination, as I said, at my university, Oxford Brookes University. Anything I'd done in the north of England, it couldn't have had anything to do with anything. It has nothing of consequence. So basically, Mancunians are seen as insignificant individuals. And it's quite funny, me being a person of African Caribbean race, my African Caribbeanness was seen as insignificant also, as well as being a Mancunian. Then I had special education needs. That was viewed as insignificant also. I want to identify to individual, the North has contributed to the South of England, the North, South, East and West of England. We brought modern leisure, modern entertainment, sports, learning, training, independent thinking, rights for women, social reform, contribution to the arts, science, technology, innovation, business, enterprise and enterprise, architecture, collaborative working. Cooperatives come from Manchester, they don't come from the South of England. It was through the Industrial Revolution. We brought dance in the workplace. From the Industrial Revolution, people started clog dancing as part of improving their health, well-being, their happiness. Is important for people to understand. No place on the planet has done as much as Manchester has. And that, most importantly, many people from the north are actually southerners now who contribute to that city. And we have a saying in Manchester, when Manchester sneezes, London gets the flu. Because the city itself, what the city was happening in my city, it brought people of different other cultures to the city who repressed the local community. And for the local community to widen and broaden their horizons, they had to leave their city. Now that's the same as what happened to the Irish. The Irish had to leave Britain for them to get an opportunity. Do you understand? Now, what happened to the African Americans? The African Americans had to leave America to get opportunities. They went to France, they came to Britain. Do you understand? To broaden their horizons, because the nature of the discrimination they faced was oppressive. Now, you have to understand, the British cousins are themselves, are they not? Right, okay. So the British historically have oppressed people from around the world. Now, we have to understand, Britain ran 20 million people, 23% of the world population were dominated, were colonialized by Britain, who then people were oppressed. And what happened, they brought in a wide range of discriminations. One of the biggest discriminations I face is because I'm involved in what is called alternative subculture dancing arts, or popular culture arts within my own culture. And popular culture, from historically, if you're going back to the 1700s, 1500s, was viewed as inferior. This is the ordinary people's arts, was viewed as inferior. So I realized when I was at university, I faced a wide range of discriminations, and Rebirth for the Cool is my voice, you're going to see here, to me to talk about what has my dance done for Britain, what has African Caribbean dance done for Britain since we've been in our arts, what have our learners and thinkers contributed, which group, when you look around at all different cultural groups, which group has brought holistic health activities into the society at large, been a culture that's always been inclusive, a culture always shares its culture with others. If you look up, you'll find it's African Caribbean. African Caribbean culture became the voice of voice of oppression, against oppression. People spoke about the arts. For example, reggae music is a prime example. The invention of reggae music changed the whole world. People, we brought, my culture, brought to the world subject matters, social commentary to people through reggae music. It's not been acknowledged. Reggae music, when it came from 1970 to 2017, roots reggae changed the whole world. It was political. It was counterculture. It came to create a benefit for the society at large, and it did create a benefit, because it brought to the forefront politically subject matters that were kept quiet. Then people engaged in reggae music, in the culture, in the lifestyle, and benefited and enhanced. That's one. We contributed to jazz. We've contributed to blues. West Indians, African Caribbeans have contributed to a wide range of arts. And today we contribute to Western arts and changed it overnight. Overnight, we've changed it. When hip-hop came, we're the ones, African Caribbeans, that developed hip-hop. When house came, we're the ones in the house, and we contributed to it in America, West Indians. It's important that people understand, because our cousins are the African Americans, if people know the history of the Caribbean. That it was the season islands. The West Indies was the season islands for America, where slaves were seasoned and brought to other parts of the world. They're our cousins. We're just in different parts of the world. I'm part of an amazing movement called the UK Jazz Movement. This is the 43rd year. And what's happened is 95.9.5% of all the writing ever done on it has been done, or documentation has done by Western privilege, who have spoken about my culture in a derogatory way, dehumanized way. People who are arrogant. They assume that we don't have an early learning. We don't have a pre-learning to our dancing. So people have identified themselves, Western DJs identified, we're the ones that taught West Indians to look at jazz music. Bluukjazzdance, talking on a serious note with the work I'm coming with the birth of the call. I'm identifying the whole thing that I have faced social injustice. African Caribbeans have faced social injustice. Manchester people have faced injustice. People assume that we're dumb. I identified, I've gone to university, to Oxford Brookes University, and that's the second college, higher education college, where I went and faced discrimination because I was Mancunian 1. That was the #1 discrimination. The second discrimination I faced was being African Caribbean. The third discrimination I faced was social class. The next discrimination I faced was the art form I was doing is seen as alternative subculture art form. Do you understand? It was viewed as inferior to the society at large. Do you understand? An incredible story. So at Oxford Brookes, boom, one of the key things, Rebirth of the Cool came in the context of a magazine writing on UK jazz dance and writing on this new movement. They called it New Jazz Age in Britain. And they all missed Manchester's contribution to the lifestyle. They missed Birmingham's contribution to lifestyle, boom, particularly to do with fashion, vintage fashion. Vintage fashion to us was not a trend. It was symbolic. And what happened was they promoted London dancers, IDJ as being the key individuals, and London musicians as the key people perpetuating the vintage clothes. But that was not unacceptable to me. It wasn't inclusive, because the key individuals who had been promoting the clothes throughout the world as a dance group and their band was the Jazz Defectors. Another group called Kalima. A lot of Manchester bands were promoting the fashion of jazz, and they stylized their clothes. It was symbolic to them because they studied jazz. Do you understand? They didn't wear clothes just for a fad. They wore vintage clothes every day as a lifestyle. And I'm one of the individuals who was a trendsetter, one of the individuals, a change agent. I wore clothes, vintage clothes, as part of who I was. Basically, I was wearing my dad's clothes. And one of the key things that has not been written on is basically UK jazz dance was a culture. Reggae is a culture. Soul was a culture. Funk was a culture. Disco was a culture. Ska was a culture, a serious-minded culture, which had a role and function for the people, African Caribbeans who created it. It wasn't for everybody, but everybody came aboard to utilize the culture for their own benefit, to enhance their life, because they saw it had a benefit to them, because it's a holistic health. All the arts I've actually reeled off, all the cultures I've reeled off, the soul, the disco, the funk, the jungle, the garage, were created for African Caribbeans first, for our role and function, for us to culturally celebrate our freedom of who we are, to self-actualize ourselves, to self-realize the best we could, to broaden our horizons, to develop our creativity, to find the next creative individuals, to bring about bonding, male and male bonding, female and female bonding, female and female bonding, parent and child bonding, community bonding, which has not been acknowledged, and it's unacceptable that people have not written what I've just stated in this room. It's unacceptable. People need to understand. Today, 2017, we're still facing discrimination in the creative cultural industries and wider industries. 5% of Black and Asian minority groups are in the creative cultural industries today, and it was the same in 1970 when the National Front was at its height, when the #1 program on television, like we've got Britain's Got Talent, was the black and white minstrel show. The number record out was the black and white minstrel. The #1 theatre at that time was the black and white minstrel show in the 1970s. How can it be the same in 2017? There's something wrong. And what's happened is because we've been excluded from the industry for our stories to come to the table. This is why I've created Rebirth for the Cool, to tell people about myself, my legacy beyond dancing and in dancing. I'm one person who is a pioneer of UK jazz dance, who went on to spread this dance locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, to every art form I could do. Experimental arts, musical theatre, live arts, community arts, youth arts work, youth arts development work. Do you understand? Arts in the community. I contributed to promoting this art because what happened was simply this. I created a mission statement. That mission statement is to promote the positive images and energy of my African and African cultural heritage arts. One of the key things that was missing was dance appreciation talks. Information deepening people's understanding. This is an art form, it's a sport, it's a holistic health, and most importantly, it has a role and function for African Caribbeans. It was made for us, we created it for us, so it has a role and purpose. When you know the role and purpose, only then you can respect it. No one had been doing the writing, no one doing the talks, so I started to do the talks. And then what I did, I started to document, to archive the talks in writing. Unfortunately, due to negative experiences, unfortunately, twice or a few times, that information was taken away from me. Video information was taken away from me on Rebirth for the Cool. The project I was doing is not new. So that's where Rebirth for the Cool stands for rebirth and new beginning. So basically I'm reviving a project I already had adding to it, most importantly, with new knowledge, because we didn't have, when I first started this project in '86, we didn't have the internet, did we? We didn't have research on racism. We didn't have all of these reports that I can present to people today. I can link people into reports to deepen their understanding about Blue UK jazz dance legacy. I've been dancing since I've been in the womb. I identify to individuals. When people ask me, when did you first start dancing? I said in my mom's womb. They go, ha ha ha. No, you don't understand. 0 to 5 years, we have a prenatal education. I'm a father and I know that. But you don't, unless you know my culture, you don't know. So most people write out that African Caribbeans have a culture, have a prenatal education, have an early learning. Why? Because they assume that we're assimilated people who have no rites of passage for our children. Blue UK Jazz Dance out.